Welcome everyone to the Black Agenda Network, broadcasting out of Fresno, California, better known as Mississippi, Fresno, Cal, Alabama. If you want to know what that means, hit me up on Facebook or come by my church at 806 Collins and I'll let you know what that means. We're just excited to be back again. We was here last week with a great show and bringing another great show to you today. I want to give a shout out to all of the freedom fighters across the country, also to the ancestors who have came before us, who have done a lot of great work and sacrifice. We want to give a shout out to all of those back in 1921, those that built Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was destroyed. And also shout out to all of our ancestors that built all the cities and towns in America with blood, sweat, and tears. Also, shout out to the Black Panther Party, who is dear to my heart, who done a lot of great work in our community, which we know that was assassinated by the U.S. government for taking care of their community. And so, all of those that sacrificed, we just want to thank you, and those that are here today, just doing all the great work and the heavy lifting that we all do, continue to do, that the baton has been passed down to us today. And so we must be able to take that baton and do something with it. Not just sit idle and have a Coke and a smile, but get off our rump, get involved, learn how to read, learn how to research, hold conversations, burn the midnight oil. That's what our ancestors did that came before us, and that's what we must continue to do here today. And so I'm going to turn it over to my comrade, my partner in crime, Aline Reed, who's probably one of the top 3 sisters that I know in the state of California, if not the whole country. A freedom fighter, revolutionary, a sister that's never sold out to the system. The sister who speaks truth to power, and I just have all respect for her. She's my mentor, my person who I can go to and ask questions to. She has a lot of knowledge up here. I'm telling you, y'all talk to her sometimes. You'll be like a kid with candy, like, man, keep talking, And so I just thank her for all that she do. Aline, welcome back to your show. She's our co-host.
Thank you. And thank you for that wonderful introduction, Rev. I appreciate it every week. And I always try to keep it light because we in the movement cannot get too big-headed. But I'm going to tell y'all something right now. The sister and her husband who are here with us tonight, this is no joke. When I say that this sister is a warrior, I mean that. Her name is Kristina Holmes-Mclntyre. She's here with her husband, Jason McIntyre, and I just want to say that she is here because she had a child at Golden Charter Academy, and I don't want to tell the sister's story, so I'm going to turn it over to her because this is very, very important. We're talking about educational issues here in Fresno, California. So, Kristina, I want to welcome you and your husband to the show. And I don't want to take up too much time with the intro because I want you to please tell us a little bit about yourself and then your issue with Golden Charter Academy.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Aline, for reaching out to me and inviting me to the Black Network to kind of talk about what I've been kind of dealing with. I want to say that I am a HR professional. I'm a small business owner here in Fresno. I am the owner of Fabric of Culture, which is a HR and business administration consultancy firm. So I work with a lot of different nonprofit organizations work with a lot of for-profit corporations.
Okay.
And by profession and trade, I am a compliance officer.
Oh.
So
Oh.
I am one of those people that deal in a lot of black and white and figuring out where the gray areas are that we should be in, right? And so I want to start out by saying that this issue is actually much bigger than Golden Charter Academy.
Okay.
Golden Charter Academy was the catalyst,
Okay.
but once I started pulling back layers in a professional capacity, because at one point I had to remove myself as mother and put on my compliance professional hat because I saw how these people were dealing with me. And what I want to say is that Golden Charter Academy is nothing more than an extension of Fresno Unified School District's failure to support and educate black and brown kids in our community.
Okay, well this is huge because if I remember my numbers right, Rev, Latinos make up, what, like 34% of the population in Fresno.
Right.
So that's a significant number. Our numbers are quite a bit lower than that. So this is huge,
Yeah.
Kristina. This is huge. So when you say lack of oversight or the issue that you have with Fresno Unified, do you want to, should we start there?
So yeah, I would love to start there because my issue with Fresno Unified as it relates to Golden Charter Academy is that when they understood the demographic of students that Golden Charter Academy was going to be serving and catering to, they actually had an additional obligation to make sure that their guardrails were in place and that their monitoring and oversight of what the school was doing at the site level becomes more important and more impactful strictly because of the demographics that they're dealing with. And what we're talking about is a campus that is over 90% black, Hispanic students, right? I think their white ratio was only 3% of the school, right? So what that means is that off the top, and on top of it being 91% of them are black or Hispanic, about 90% of them are also below the poverty line, which means that you are dealing with kids that are not only marginalized because of their race, but they are also marginalized because of their socioeconomic status, right? So when you allow a school to open that has these demographics, as a chartering office that has authorized them, you have a responsibility to those students, to that marginalized group of people, to make sure that you are giving them adequate education.
Okay, so we're talking about students who would fall under the umbrella of like the 4A program. Is that what it is, Rev? For the African Americans, and then they have ESL issues.
Exactly.
They have special need issues.
Right. So this year, or 2024-2025, Golden Charter Academy got $1.6 million that was allocated for kids with low income, English second language students, and foster youth, right? So that means that that money is strictly earmarked, that $1.6 million is earmarked and is allocated strictly to meet the needs of those students on campus.
Wow.
Right? So that becomes my issue, and it also is my issue with Fresno Unified, because a lot of times what you hear is when you talk about outcomes for students, the first thing that they want to do is start talking about, well, what are the parents doing? Why aren't the parents doing this? The parents are not controlling the kids. The parents aren't disciplining their kids. You knew when you opened this school, your demographics were going to be kids that were marginalized, that are dealing with issues that have caused them some type of trauma. You know that from the jump. So to turn around and deflect the issue onto parents, one, that's not fair because you're getting $1.6 million. Fresno Unified School District gets over $200 million. Right? So what that really plays into is their LCAP plan. And what are they using those funds to support the children for, right? And then what you run into, what I have ran into, not only at Golden Charter Academy, but also at Fresno Unified School District, is that when you do have parents that are involved, when you do have parents that ask questions, you're gaslit, you're lied to. You have school sites as well as the district that aren't following their own policies, aren't following their own procedures, right? And so that becomes a problem because those policies and those procedures are not just pieces of paper that they put together so that they can open a school. These are your guardrails.
Right.
These are your safety parameters to make sure that kids are being treated well.
Wow.
And that they are being supported in a way that the learning environment is conducive for them to actually learn.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you have kids that are being harassed and taunted by staff at the school site.
By staff?
Yes, by staff at the school site because their parent is complaining with the administration about their non-compliance with California Education Code. Their non-compliance with their own school handbooks, right? Your handbook isn't something, and I say this in employment all the time, I do employee handbooks all the time. And I have to remind owners, these are your guidelines. You cannot go off and create another page just because you want to, right? And so a lot of times with Fresno Unified School District, that is the problem, is that, and I ran into that also with Golden Charter Academy, is that they have these overly broad policies so that they can actually make decisions for individual kids based on whatever it is that they want to make that decision on, right? And so that's how we got put into where the first issue that raised for my son was within his first 30 days of enrollment at Golden Charter Academy, he was put on a 30-day loss of privilege restriction, right? 30 days.
He just started.
First he just started, right? 2, 30 days restriction from loss of recess and, not loss of recess, what they did is basically constructive dismissal. Okay. So they denied him access to using any of the playground equipment. He couldn't use balls. He couldn't use swings. He couldn't use hopscotch. He couldn't use hula hoops. And when I asked Officer Watson, who is also the Dean of Students, when I asked him, well, if he can't play with any of the equipment, what can he do?
Yes.
His response to me was that he could walk around the blacktop or he could have a seat, right? And so what that means is you put my child in a position where he can't play with any of the equipment, and now he's isolated from his peers who are all playing ball, and so they don't want to walk on the blacktop with him.
Right.
They don't want to sit on a bench with him.
Right.
Right? And so what's interesting about that is I actually heard in the recordings where during the investigation, because I did file a UCP complaint because constructive dismissal of recess, kids in elementary school have a right to recess.
Right.
And not just because it's supposed to be fun for them, but because in education we recognize that children that are in elementary school, they need that social development, right? And then they also need that physical activity where they're able to take brain breaks and they can run around, right? And so it's interesting that as I was listening to the recordings of one of the statements that they did was one of the learning guides, she actually highlights why she would go against company or against policy and let my son play. And what she said was that she recognized that he was new. She recognized that he was isolated from his peers, that he had not made any friends, and that he seemed miserable.
Wow.
And so because of that, what she would do is take it upon herself at certain times to let him play.
Right.
Right? So, but to a fifth grader, that looks like you're picking and choosing. You're picking on me now, right? And so I explained to her in that meeting, when she explained to me that she would sometimes go against the policy and let him play, I said, okay, I understand now why he feels like you're picking on him is because there's no consistency there. Right? And then I even took it a step further, and I told her, I said, I don't think this has anything to do with what you're doing directly. This starts from the top.
From the top.
Who implemented this policy?
Right.
Right? And so I go to administration, and that's when I start talking to them about it. Where did this policy come from? Was it approved by your authorizer for you guys to be using these type of disciplinary practices?
It sounds like they just took some boilerplate guardrails, guidelines, and just put them like a slapdash kind of job.
Right.
And I'm saying that because I took a tour of Golden, I think it was last summer, because, we run Fresno Freedom School from this location. And, it was very impressive the way that they, did it, and, they have the mock-ups for the Art Dyson and all that. And I was thinking, what a progressive approach to education and so on and so forth. This was before I didn't know anything. I don't know football that much, So I'm thinking, okay, so Golden Charter came up with this progressive type plan and got approved to have a school, and then they're not even following a progressive, viewpoint. Graham, you were on the school board. How do you sanction a school like this that, it's a charter school or comes under your purview, right? What would you do if you were on Fresno Unified School District and you had a school punishing students like this that they're supposed to be protecting and educating?
Well, one of the things that's important that I know that she's doing is that she's getting more parents involved. Right? School districts, anybody can fight anything by themselves, right? I do it all the time. But but when you have a group of parents, a group of concerned taxpayers, that don't like something and starts questioning something. People in power or in authority don't like to be questioned. They just like to, this is how it is, this is the way it's going to be now. Have a coconut smile and get out the campus. That type of behavior and mindset in a public school system shouldn't be tolerated. Right. All from the principal to the teachers to the deans and now you have a school that has supposedly oversight, which is Fresno Unified.
Right.
They gave them the charter.
Right.
More so now, they're more obligated to make sure that they do the right thing. Right. Yeah. So if they're not doing the right thing, then of course the parent is going to go and speak with them. But if that parent is not satisfied, then the next layer is to go to the district.
Okay.
That gave them the charter, right?
Right.
And file a complaint there. But more so what's good is that you're getting more parents involved, community involved. Even folks that's watching this here may want to get involved because we never know, other parents may be going through the same thing. But may not have the
I
courage.
know for a fact other parents are going through the same thing at the same time that my kid was going through this, because it started at 30 days. Within 7 days, he was at 90. Right? Within 7
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yes.
This baby went from 30 days to 3 months?
To 3 months. 90, they gave him a 90-day, and I have it documented. They're lying about it now after J.B. Wire dropped their article. Now they're saying that we didn't do, any of those things, but I actually have all the documented proof that they were doing this. And so within 7 days, and mind you, in between those 7 days, I'm at the school complaining, right? And so it was almost like who do you think you are? Not only does he have 30, now he has 60. Oh, you want to complain again? Now he has 90. right? So that's really how they dealt with me. And not just the stay-away orders. There's also, not just the loss of privileges, which is what they call them. Also, they were using restraining orders on the kids. And what they were calling them were stay-away contracts, right? And where they would bring in my son with another student and basically tell them you're not allowed to have contact with this student. But here's the issue. It's not because these kids had conflict with each other and they were fighting with each other. What I was told was that their relationships were unhealthy and they were bad influences on each other. So the two kids that my son did make friends with in class, they put them on restraining orders against each other as a method to control disruption in the class.
So okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around this, y'all, because, and you know, I'm famous for having the top of my head blown off. I'm too old to have my blood pressure raised like this.
I mean, that's what happens when there is deliberate and conscious decision to control the school environment by hiring a police officer.
I was just coming to that. So it seems not obvious, but it seems reasonable that we have people who are not in a position that they should be at this school. They don't have the right kind of teachers. They don't have the right kind of administrators. And from what I understand too, there's been retaliation against families who have said something about the way their children have been treated.
Yeah, and what's unfortunate about it is, and this is why the district has to pay attention to what conflict of interest actually is. I think there's this misconception that conflict of interest only deals with monetary gain. It does not. It deals with also influence. It deals with familiar family ties, right? It also deals with how it impacts the community, the optics of it, right? So that now you have parents that are literally have students at Golden Charter Academy. They also have they also work within Fresno Unified School District, or they work at the city,
right?
Or they work at the Rotary Club, or they work at the Fresno the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, right? They work for the city, right? So now, how do you complain, about a superstar CEO? And then his mother-in-law, who sits on the board of trustees at Fresno Unified School District. And both of them are very actively involved in the community with high proximity to power. So what happened was, I literally have talked to, as of today, I've talked to 39 different parents. And so what happens is, these parents quietly remove their kids from the school. And that's one of the things I was telling the district is, I would love for you guys to pull some numbers and statistics on how many kids started there and how many have exited. Because almost 70% of the people that I talked to were like, yeah, I removed my kid because of this, this, and this.
And people were talking about a waiting list. When I did the tour last summer, they were talking about a waiting list to get into Golden.
I don't know nothing about a waiting list because I applied online and they called me the next day. So I don't know about any waiting list. What I do know is that Golden Charter Academy is very good at playing smoke and mirrors, right? So it looks really good. You have the cultural affirmations, you have the dance squad, you have an all-black campus, right? But where's the environmental stewardship program? My kids went to the zoo every Thursday and they didn't see no animals. Where's the environmental stewardship program? Because what I understand is that when the school started 5 years ago, too, this is not a year in. 5 years ago, what I understood was that they had planting programs and they had school programs.
That's why I went.
But 5 years later, where is that? Because my son, one of the complaints that he had that the learning guide said was disruptive was he's questioning, why are we coming to the zoo if we aren't going to see animals? They're sitting on the grass doing worksheets. And so my son, who is much like me, you know.
I love it.
He asks questions.
Yes,
and
those questions.
And those questions, unfortunately for him, highlighted things that they did not want to be discussed. Right? And so what I was told was he was being disruptive and defining or questioning authority because all of the other kids were sitting on the grass doing their worksheets, and he's the only one saying, hey, why aren't we seeing animals? Why am I sitting on the grass doing a worksheet?
Educators are supposed to deal with that all the time, and as you know, Reverend Harris is the founder of Fresno Freedom School, and so we have dealt with all types of personalities, young personalities that come to Freedom School, and we treat everybody the same. We don't care, you know, what your cultural background is. We always tell parents, you bring your kids to Freedom School, where they're going to be treated A, B, and C. They're going to be safe. We're going to take care of them. We're going to feed them. This is what we're going to teach them. When they go through parent orientation, they know what they're getting with Fresno Freedom School. But I am very concerned about this whole disciplinary thing, and one of the reasons why I'm concerned is because we already have a school-to-prison pipeline in this country. We already have kids being identified in elementary school that are problem children, that they shuffle off into special ed, and then suddenly, boom, you know, they got big problems. And Fresno County is bad about this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this with Freedom School for many, many years, and we had a colleague named James Bell who ran the Burns Institute in the Bay Area, and juvenile justice was his specialty. And this is a brother who helped to get the juvenile hall in San Francisco shut down. Do you know he tried 3 different times to come to Fresno County, and they didn't even want to talk to him. They didn't even want to talk to him because there's money in juvenile hall, there's money in prisons, and this is the bottom line. There's money attached to all this. But you know what bothers me most, folks, and please somebody chime in, is the fact that we have, it's like the optics. We have black people in charge of a black school who are mistreating black children.
Absolutely.
That's a problem.
Right. Absolutely.
That is a big problem. And I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews, and I am here to tell you that is a problem, and everybody should be concerned about it, because Jesus said, what you do to the least of mine.
Absolutely.
Is this not true, Rev?
Right.
What you do to the least of mine, you do to me.
Yeah.
But can we go, like, rewind back to the listening audience, when you talked about the 90-day,
Disciplinary.
So the disciplinary, it started at 30 days, and this is the thing that caught me, where I was like, this is very carcinal, this is very punitive, is that if you get 5 write-ups, right, then you go into this 30-day punishment. In between that, where's the kid's due process? Where's parental notification? Where's parental involvement, right? Because you cannot bypass students' rights because you want to do what you want to do, right? And as his mother, before he reached where you were going to think that you were going to restrict him for 30 and then 60 and 90 days, I have a right to understand exactly what incidents led to this punishment. You know, I still to this day don't know. As a matter of fact, I got a message from their attorney this week that literally said, we aren't sure which 7 or 5 incidents led to the 30 day. That's a problem. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm pissed. I'm pissed. And I'm pissed because I watched my son, my husband told me don't get on here crying. I watched my son's demeanor change. He went from a little boy that liked school, that liked engaging with his friends, to all of a sudden he was in this whirlwind where he didn't understand why he's now constantly in trouble. My son would cry in the mornings, please don't go take me back to the school. I don't want to go. My son looked over at me one day, sorry, my baby told me don't cry. He said, Mom, what kind of school is this? You think I'm bad? He thought I had put him in this school to fix him. And there was nothing wrong with it.
Right. Right.
You know, you have to understand the trauma and the lack of confidence and the anxiety that this rose up in my child.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about these things very mundane, like it's 30s, but he actually lived this.
Right.
This is actually what he dealt with. And as his mother, with everything that I know, I had no way of protecting him.
Right.
Because this officer and this behavioral technician thought that it was their job to supersede what I'm saying as his mother as to what is harmful. That is inappropriate. At every stage of the game, that's inappropriate. And so for us to get as far as we are, people keep, you know, I get messages from people and things on Facebook, and I don't mind it because I'm very transparent. But at the end of the day, you don't continuously extend grace to people that showed you your child none.
Yes.
He was shown no grace. He felt like he was a bad kid. Mind you, this is a kid that left Fresno Unified School District going over to Golden Charter Academy with a 3.2 GPA. He had not been suspended from school in over 2 years. And when he did get suspended in the 3rd grade, it was for fighting. And tell me if I'm lying, his dad had to make him fight the kids because they was bullying him. His dad was, and you can tell him that, but his dad was talking to him about not letting kids just hit you and not letting, right, because he was not one that was defending himself.
Right.
And he got in 2 fights, and I remember sitting in that office with the principal, and I said, thank you for letting me know. We will take his suspension. He is not in trouble. We're headed to McDonald's.
Right.
Right? Because that was something that we had to make him do. Right? So this is the kind of kid that we're dealing with. Also, if you look at his testing within Fresno Unified, he tested always high for high-frequency words. With that comes cognitive understanding, which means that's why he was questioning. Is because my son, I'm raising literally a future lawyer. I'm raising a future congressman, right? And so I don't really have an issue with him asking questions, but two administrators that dealt with him directly told me that their issue with him was that he asked too many questions and he was questioning authority.
How can you ask too many questions in a school setting? You can't ask too many questions. They're there to answer questions, not say don't ask me questions.
Right, so Mr. Watson sat in an office and told me that he doesn't take well to kids questioning adults, and my son continuously questions him. So I asked him, well, what are you referring to? And one of the examples that he mentioned was that my son had an issue with being followed around campus, even to where if he had to go to the bathroom, he had to have an escort. And so he's like, why does somebody have to stand outside the bathroom and watch me if I have to use the restroom, right? And so I asked Mr. Watson about that, and his response was it's for student safety. Why is the campus unsafe?
Well,
are you guys doing finger checks?
Well, are
the gates locked?
Are they doing that to every student?
Every student. And that's a civil rights violation because you can't treat these kids a certain way because they're black and poor. No campus on Fresno Unified School District are they escorting kids to the bathroom if they don't have an IEP or 504 plan. So why are we making the decision to do that at Golden Charter Academy? Because we remember, we know the history of policing.
Yes, we do.
Which is to protect property. So the environment, they saw the way that the environment was going. I don't know what they were doing with that $1.6 million that they're supposed to use to support the students, but there was a deliberate decision that we've lost control of the school, we need to hire a police officer. And what they did was they incarcerated those kids on campus in plain sight. If black people ain't mad about that, I don't know what to do with it.
What grade is the school?
So the school, when my son was there, it was K through 5th grade. Now they have added 6th and 7th grade. So they do a phase-in of every year. So these are elementary school, Pastor Floyd, these are elementary school kids that they felt like a police officer was needed. And the behavioral tech, the lead behavioral tech, who does not have a degree in psychology or behavioral technician certification, also has a black background in the criminal justice system. She is heard on recording saying that she's worked at juvenile halls. She's worked at group homes for juvenile offenders, right? So what they did was they brought in practices that they were familiar with the juvenile setting, and they're using them on kids that have committed no crime. It's the most anti-black thing I've ever seen in my life. It is the most anti-black thing I have ever seen in my life. Fresno Unified School District should be ashamed of themselves. Trustee Keisha Thomas should be ashamed of herself. Stephen Morrison should be ashamed of himself. Cassandra Little with the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce should be ashamed of herself. Wow. Because how do you do this to our kids in our community? I don't care how many black people get upset with me and talk about Robert and this is for us. If this is for us, we don't need it.
Well, my thing is this. Leaders need to stop treating black people like a monolith. Like we're just one big slab, and you talk to one and you didn't talk to everybody. That is not true. That's a lie. And as a black progressive, Reverend Harris and I talk about this a lot. Because I've had to tell people, so-and-so don't speak for me. So-and-so don't speak for me. So-and-so don't speak for me. And, you know, I'm just going to say it. A lot of these bourgeois, middle-class black people want to be shot callers in Fresno. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you can't speak for the grassroots. You can't speak for everybody. And this is one of those times where you have to say no. You have to say no. The Black Panthers, all these people behind us did not give their lives for us to be treated like this by our own people. That was not the plan. Nat Turner did not have a revolt for us to treat each other like this. So I'm pissed off. I'm mad now.
So, as a former school board trustee at West Fresno School District, and I'm a business owner too, as well as pastor of this church, as well as civil rights leader in my own organization, as well as founder of Federal Freedom School.
That's right.
First president of the West Fresno Democratic Club. So, you know, I have an extensive resume, which is really important. But one of the things that I try to do is when there's a problem or concern or an issue or whatever, you know, the scripture says in all things try to get an understanding, right? Mm-hmm. Is for folks to sit down at the table, those that are in leadership or over something, or lack of a better word, or responsible for whatever, should have a listening ear, right, to parents or to whatever the situation may be. So have these folks, and I'm just asking, I don't know, the hierarchy or the structure of the school, but has someone called and said, you know, can we just sit down and talk?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, what was even more telling for me is that the CEO, Robert Golden, I never once spoke to him directly. He never once picked up the phone and called me. He never once said, come down to my office and let's meet. This man dealt with me through emails because he didn't want to hear what I had to say. And because I work in compliance, you better believe that all of those emails are full of California Education Code. They are full of undeniable regulations that you are obligated to follow that they simply were not going to. And I think the reason why they never had that conversation at the time that it would have been appropriate to have that conversation was because they had ran off so many parents already. And because they feel like they are unstoppable because they have Keisha Thomas, who's sitting in the Fresno Unified School District board as a trustee, who is orchestrating and dictating these things behind the scenes. So they felt untouchable. So yeah, you complaining. This man told me if I didn't like it, I could remove my son from his school. I took my son out from the school, but I didn't drop it because there are 400 other black kids that are there. Who's speaking up for them?
So who told you to take the kid out?
Robert Golden. I have emails where he said it like 4 or 5 different times. That's one of the things that Fresno Unified School District is going to be addressing with him because that is a form of retaliation. It's constructive dismissal.
So I'm learning all the people's names, and so Robert Golden is the CEO.
He's the CEO.
So he's the owner of the school.
Nobody owns a nonprofit, okay? He is getting public funds. He's using taxpayer dollars. So he does not own it. He is the CEO, which means that he is also listed as a co-founder along with C.J. Jones and Trustee Thomas. And I believe there's one other one. But he's a co-founder. So one of the first things he said to me, which alerted me to, okay, this is a property issue, which was that he used his resources to get this school started. That in itself is a problem because no one should feel like they are indebted to a nonprofit. It's a public charity. So if he's so indebted that he tells a parent, I would appreciate you talking about my school because I've used my own resources, that's a problem. That's something that Fresno Unified School District needs to look into. Because nobody owns a nonprofit. I don't care if he did write his name all over it. He does not own it. The community owns it. It's funded through our tax dollars. And I don't want my tax dollars used to police black and brown kids in plain sight. Period. Point blank period. It's inappropriate. Could you imagine, Pastor Floyd, a generation of black and brown children that have been conditioned to conform rather than to ask questions? So I'm looking at it from a bigger picture, which is what happens when you have 1,000 kids that come out of an institution like this. How do they show up in the world? Right? How do they take on the resistance?
They're sheep. They would be sheep.
Right. They're being conditioned to sit in these prisons and do like they're told. Right? Because Fresno, we know that they are building and funding these private prisons. They're not building them for no reason. They're building them for our kids.
That's right.
So when you have a school like this that's functioning in the community, it becomes an even bigger problem than just the school. Right? Because in Fresno, we know the dynamics and the demographics of Fresno, which means that we are small, which means that also because of where we are logistically, we actually have the ability to be used as guinea pigs for these type of things. So that if they can get it through here in the urban, in the rural areas, then all of a sudden they show up in the urban areas. They show up in the suburbs to house black kids, right? Because I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, that Fresno Unified School District actually loves to see Golden Charter Academy taking black kids off of their hands because they already think that our kids are the problem, right? So and so they would love to just push our kids off onto this school, and I'm okay with that. But if that's what they're going to do, this school needs to be top notch. It needs to be the school of excellence that they present themselves to be.
Let me ask you, Christina, I'm sorry. Katrina was the hurricane, and this sister is bringing her own, okay? So, excuse me, Christina. You were saying that you had 39 parent contacts, and I understand that you're forming your own parent group. Is that true? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So, myself and some other community members that include teachers, career professionals, we are forming what is called the Fresno Community Parent Alliance, or Parent Coalition.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do is I've actually spoken with, and we will be affiliated with the Black School Board Parallel, which is out of Sacramento.
Okay.
And so what we are going to be doing is following not just the district, but also many of the charter schools that are here in town. And we're going to be helping parents to advocate for themselves. We're going to be following board meetings, board policies, following their LCAP. One of the things that I discovered was that Fresno Unified School District has actually no process for handling complaints that fall outside of the UCP process, right? So those complaints include all of those things that are under the LCFF, right? And so it becomes imperative that we monitor and watch the district, because again, our kids are undereducated and undersupported.
Yes.
We have to figure out why that is.
Yeah.
And I hear Fresno Unified School District, and I also hear Golden Charter Academy, in that their major deflection, whenever you talk about student outcomes, they want to talk about parents. So what we're going to do is we're going to get together and we're going to figure out how we as parents can act as safety nets for some of these kids. Because here's the thing. The reality is some of these parents don't have the capacity to do what the school board wants them to do. They don't have the capacity to do what the school site wants them to do. So what do we as a community do with that?
Well, I know Fresno Unified for years has been talking about English as a second language and how it's bringing down test scores, and you know what I'm saying, that so many resources are going to these kids who don't speak English. And so we already know systematically with this administration that's in Washington now, this trickle-down racism that's going on with immigration and things like that. So it's sort of like a perfect storm of racism. But I appreciate the fact that you have called attention and put a high beam on the way things are done, not just at Fresno Unified, but the way that things are done in Fresno, period. Because there's so many backroom deals. Fresno is a hotbed of cronyism, of misogyny, of backroom deals where, you know, oh, well, I know so-and-so is going to happen. I mean, where are you going to get a town where you have the chief of police run for mayor and get elected twice? I mean, this is mind-boggling to me, but this has happened here. And so those of us who are vocal about the resistance have to stay vigilant. And so I commend you on your work. I really do. I was sharing with Rev. I said, I've been reading this sister on Facebook. I said, you think we should have her on the show? He said, yeah, I'm on the show. So I was like, okay. And I was so happy when you said that you would come. But Rev,
well, you know, I think that's you know, to create the Black Agenda Network is to talk about Black issues. We don't have progressive, from my perspective, we don't do talking right now. I don't see the progressiveness, and I was telling Aline today when we were sitting in there getting ready for the show. I said, you know, I really think we need to have a show, or maybe bring some people on, to talk about what does progressive mean. I think a lot of people use the word loosely. A lot of people use it for their own political benefit. But what does it really mean? Unpack what progressive means. What are the rules? Are there rules? Are there expectations? Are there no expectations?
Right.
What is that? Because when we look at our history as black folk, right, you know, we can call the Black Panther Party progressive, right? Because they did for themselves. They did not expect the government to take care of them. But at the same time, while they wasn't expecting that, that's what assassinated them, was the government, because they were, what, independent. And like you said, it was so profound that, you know, what's wrong with questioning? When the Black Panther Party, when the police, when those pigs pulled over black people in Oakland, I was reading, they said, we ran over there to observe.
To observe.
Now, how do you know that you have a right to observe? Well, you have to read that somewhere and understand it and have a discussion, a round table like this. Say, brothers and sisters, we have a right to observe in our community. That's what their Constitution wrote. We didn't write the Reagan Constitution, they wrote it, right? And so then when we turn around and apply what they wrote, then they want to change the rules. See, and so that's the problem in this country, not just in Mississippi, but in this country, is that people want to change the rules when you know how to play the game. See, if you're playing Monopoly and you don't know, if no one has not taught you when you pass go to collect your 200, but your opponent collects 200 every time they pass go, they done went around the board 10 times to get 200. What is that? 2,000? You done went around the board 10 times, but you ain't got nothing. Well, who gonna have more money? The opposite person can do what? Buy more property. So what I'm saying is that we have to figure out, you know, this progressive conversation. People always ask me, do Fresno have an NAACP? I say, hell no, they don't.
I'm sorry.
I mean, because I'm like, what does that mean? Now, I knew what NAACP meant when Medgar Evers was here. He was getting people the right to vote in Mississippi. That's why he got murdered with his 3 little girls on the other side of the door, because why? He was progressive. Fresno has no progressive black, let me just put it out there right now.
All right.
Fresno has no progressive black people. Progressive black people that's going to go up against the system to hold it accountable. We have black people here, and we have very nice black people.
We do. We really do.
I know a lot of them. I mean, I talk to them, they're cordial, they're nice, you know, we have dinner and lunch. I mean, now, when we're talking about, okay, now we're going to speak truth to power, but it Casper the Gooey Ghost. You see what I'm saying? That's what we have here in Fresno, and that's why our children are suffering in the system of Fresno Unified School District. Now, I just read the other day that Central Unified just got their first, I believe their first black superintendent, right, of Central Unified. And so, I don't know the brother. I don't know if he's from Fresno, because Fresno is so good about hiring people from other states.
That's right. They are.
But no hire nobody here that know the community, right? Because, and the reason they hire people, especially Fresno Unified, they hire people that live in Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago. Because see, once they get here, they say, look, I'm a little black woman, man. This is your script. This is what you do.
This is your script.
Do not go out the parameters of this, because if you go out the parameters of what we tell you to do, it's a long way back home. So folks are forced to do what this white power structure say do, because they don't want to lose their check or their livelihood. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, and I can go deeper to this going thing, but I'm trying to get educated. You educated in a lot today. But at the end of the day, it's all about money and contracts. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
It's really about it.
And I think that's one of the most important things that we need to really impress upon is a lot of the things that you're touching on, which is one, knowledge is power, right? So you have to understand what these schools should be doing. And then you have to understand what their complaint processes are and what's required in those protocols in that. Because if not, those people are playing your face. They are literally playing in my face right now, right? And one of the things, and I don't mean to be, messy, but one of the things that really bothers me is that, I've been verbally assaulted in the community by people who have accused me of not being with my own kind and not being loyal to black people. I had somebody at a networking event who literally walked up to me and was like, I see you trying to take the black man down, and so, I deal with that kind of stuff, and then random little things that are being sent to me in my, on Facebook Messenger, and that kind of thing. But there are two things that I want to say to that. One is that my child was harmed. I have a right to navigate that the way that I want to. Two, don't blame me because you don't understand what your rights are. Let's work together so that we all understand what should be happening and how those things should be happening. Because there are some of us that are going to be more progressive than others, and we have to be able to coexist. And that coexisting is first starting with understanding what it is, what your rights are. And then if you're okay with your rights being trampled on, that's fine, but there are some of us that aren't.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think that's where we start, and that's the idea behind the Fresno Community Parent Coalition, is getting a group of like-minded parents on the same page so that we can actually start to try to move the needle. And that's why I'm partnering with the Black School Board Parallel, because they have been very successful in being able to change or curb the numbers that they were seeing in Sacramento for those black kids.
So this group that you're speaking about right now is not in Fresno?
They're not in Fresno. They're based out of Sacramento, but they also have a chapter in Merced.
Okay.
And so we about to bring the chapter to Fresno Unified School District. So anybody that is interested in joining the cause, raising your voice, championing and really putting some pressure on people that are in positions of power within the school board, let's do that. Because what I'm sick of is people running for positions for the school board only as a stepping stone into their next thing, but this over here is broken.
Right.
Right? If you are running for the school board, you should be running to be a candidate on the school board because you are interested in making changes and progressing the support and education of all of the students.
Absolutely.
And you start with the ones that have been left behind.
Absolutely.
You start with the ones that have been left behind. And that's our black and brown kids.
That's
right? And so what I'm doing is I'm hearing the deflections from teachers and from districts. And so we're going to build a safety net there for parents because honestly, there are a lot of parents that don't have the capacity, and that's one of the things that kind of pissed me off too when I was speaking with Felicia Elias, who is the Fresno Unified School District Charter Office Director. One of the things she said to me was, well, we don't really have parents that come through with your same capacity. They don't have the documentation the way that you have it. Right? I'm a professional, one, I do HR, this is what I do. But on the back end of that, not only did I feel offended by that, but two, parents shouldn't have to know A through Z for you to do what your job is.
Absolutely.
Right? I shouldn't have to sit down and spell out every regulation for you to do your job. You getting paid $100 and something thousand to do your job. Do your job.
You know, this
it's as simple as that.
This is we're getting close to time, Rev, but this is an issue that will take more than just an hour to cover, and so we really have only touched the tip of the iceberg on this, because when people want to attack this sister, think about Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay? They want to attack her for what she's saying. Think about Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas.
But I know we have to end our show, but one of the things that I've been successful in Fresno a lot of people surprised that I'm still here, right? I said, well, the only person who can move me from Fresno is God. Whenever that time comes, he'll let me know that. But while I'm here, my hand, fingers on the pulse, everything. I'm like 911. And that's like we call 911, people call them 911. And I believe that over my 45 years here, there's people that love me, there's people that hate me. Now, the people that hate me, they can't even tell you why they hate me. Because they always have me dinner with master. Master said, hate haters, we gonna hate haters. And so my philosophy is about accountability. You know, I don't eat chicken and watermelon with politicians. It's my job to hold them accountable. Chickens don't run with chicken office.
That's right.
You know, and I think it's time that we, no one has to be enemies. That's why I said earlier, in all things is getting understanding. But if we want to hide behind our titles, we want to hide behind our position, we want to hide behind, the hierarchy, then you take what comes at you, right?
Or even play the race card inappropriately.
Right. And so one of the things, and I'm closing, that I would say, that's why I asked you about that group. I tell anybody, so let me say this before I say that. Probably about 15 years ago, we had an ACLU chapter here. And I do a lot of expulsion hearings with black children, being there for 10, 15 hours, with retired district administrators, and, trying to save this,
We showed up to a lot of schools.
And the whole situation was that, sit in the girl lap. The girl sat in his lap. Just kids, he ran his hand in front of her. Another girl got upset, jealous, went and told the administrator. The administrator, and this is why we have to teach our children their right. See, the school system is, and this is the crazy part, much money as the school district get across the world, they don't teach our children their rights. They don't. So this child, so then the administrator comes in. Now this is a basketball, NBA type kid, right? And asks the question, I said, well, did you touch this young lady? And, because black children always tell the truth.
Yeah.
Now, I tell people now, don't say nothing. Because you telling yourself telling the truth will incriminate yourself. But we've been taught coming up through generations, always tell the truth, always tell the truth. But wait till mom and daddy get there.
Right.
They'll speak to you, right?
Right.
But the school district said, come to the office. They had a police officer that questioned that baby for 5 hours without their parents. 5 hours. And the police officer would just wait for them to say one thing. And he got so tired of whatever that one thing he said, the police officer said, you're now under arrest. But detained for 5 hours. Wow. Right? Then they called the parents. Right? Then they call the parents, oh, well, your child is under arrest because of da-da-da-da-da. Now, the parents are irate, they're going out to the school, kid is in there crying and da-da-da-da-da-da. So now they expel the kid, right, out of the school district. So now we got a hearing. Now, this is not my member of my church. I'm dealing with other pastors, members of their church, because they don't want to deal with it, right? And I'm in this hearing for like 15 hours, right, trying to save this child's education so they won't put him as a sex molester and all this type of stuff that they're further the files, charges and police roll in the school district. Little black boy. And I say that to say this. When we had the ACLU chapter here, I took it upon myself to push that we needed to write a pamphlet or a brochure for the parents about their rights. And that the school had to, when they enroll, give parents this pamphlet about their kids' rights. Because our children don't know their rights in the school system. Because we always, like you said, don't question authority. You just listen to me. You do what I tell you to do. But you don't raise your son. Right. You raise your son to ask a question. What is it illegal to ask a question?
So what did the ACLU do?
Oh, I made them write a pamphlet.
Okay, so they actually did that.
That was approved through the state of California.
Okay.
That this school district here, we have pamphlets now. I don't know if they still have the pamphlets in the office or how they do it now. But I remember that because I felt so bad that our parents just didn't know our children. This is like right now. You drive right now, the police pull you over. You have the right to remain silent. But we don't teach our children that. Our children, they get scared. Or they start asking questions. Where are you coming from? Well, why are they in your business? Where are you coming from? Well, where you live at? Well, you got my driver's license, you have my address, you know where I live. So they get into these, questionings of trying to ask another question for another question to get you all caught up. Right? And it's like, look, you got a problem? You give me a ticket? Are you detained? What are we doing here? Right. And then, we have those know your rights to confront about police officers and stuff, police officers. And just today, thank God for Aline. Talked to the sister today. Next week, we're going to be having an immigration workshop here about ICE and all that. Because I don't even know dealing with ICE is on a whole federal level. Then I find out today that ICE is some privatized group. And, I'm like, what do you mean they privatized? Yeah, they're private. I said, why don't they work for the federal government? She said, they're a private agency. And so then we get into warrants and, sanctuaries and all that. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't even know.
So we have to ask the questions.
Yeah, we have
to ask the questions, and thank goodness that this sister had the capacity.
And father.
And this is a unit here. Yeah. This is a unit. And this is a small unit in which is supposed to be an extended family, which is where this show and the rest of the black community is supposed to come in. Our ancestors sacrificed a lot for us to be here. We are a strong and mighty people. People forget that, but really they don't, because that's why the power structure is set up the way that it's set up. This is no accident, the way these things happen. We have to stay vigilant about our children, because the world don't love our kids. It just don't. We have to love our kids enough to be able to go to the mattresses for them when we need to. This is a sister and a brother who are doing that. They should be applauded for that. They should be supported for that. They are parents. Their job is to protect their children. And that should be our job too as a community. Rev, how many times have we gone to school when a parent couldn't go to a school for a Freedom School child? They asked us, well, who are you? Well, we're with Freedom School. That's one of our kids that we work with on the weekends. This is a wraparound program. We wrap around our kids.
President Unified has never called me, knocked on my door.
I know that.
We up at 115 kids in black HBC colleges over the past 10 years. And first class kids, all around here, teaching them discipline, teaching them advocacy, teaching them how to form, teaching them how to grow.
But see, they're not going to call you because the system is actually doing what it was designed to do.
That's right.
That's right. Because it's actually doing what say they're supposed to do. And that, for me, is kind of what's frustrating. I've been in Fresno for 11 years, and one of the things you see is the recycling of the same politicians just in different roles. That's the problem, right? That is the major problem, and I hate to say it that way, but when you recycle people and you just put them in different roles, it really all blends together. Right? And so that's why you have the stuff that's happening with Measure P and all the fighting that's going on about that grant funding and the disarray of the school board, right? I heard a developer talking the other day, and one of the things that he said is that they can't build homes in Fresno because nobody wants to go into Fresno Unified School District, right? So at the city level, if you hear a developer that is saying that type of thing, I would think that the city would start to look at the schools, right? Exactly. But there is this far and wide disconnect where politicians use the Fresno Unified School District board to spring off into other things, but they aren't even diligently handling what they're supposed to be doing here before they get moved over into city council or wherever it is that they're going. It's an absolute catastrophe. Like from a business perspective, when you look at it high level of what's happening, it's horrible. Somebody somewhere needs to start saying, okay, let's tackle this hill one step at a time. Right? And so you can't, I have no political aspirations whatsoever. I am more effective with the people inside of the people. And I will not be silenced. I will not be put into a place of fear, right? Because I believe in the providence and the preordaining of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He has provided me with a protector. And so I won't be silenced about these things because one, now not only is it at the city and the county level, but now we're seeing it in full effect blatantly with our children. It's unacceptable. It's at every level, it is unacceptable. And so if we have decided that we are going to stay here in Fresno because this is the catalyst that pushes some things forward. And hopefully, I know that I have a small team now of parents that are willing, able to get involved. Hopefully that number grows and that we're able to really make some effective change because I agree with you 100%. Parents need to understand what due process is. They need to understand that these people can't just call you and say your kid is suspended. You have a right to see the evidence and then negate the evidence and negotiate with them almost like an attorney would do. So that's part of what we're going to do is act as family advocates for families that don't have the capacity, as Ms. Aline said, to advocate for themselves.
I'm going to say this, you're perfectly right. One of the effective things I've been able to do in this city is that when you're fighting something here, you have to go outside of Fresno County to get help.
Come on.
When Dr. King went to Memphis, he went to different, areas of the country. He didn't use the people that was there because they were scared. Right?
Yes.
Dr. King brought in people and resources to stand with the people that were there, right? To show them that you can stand up. So I've seen many people try to fight things here that they should have went out and brought people in. Right? And so when I went to Vallejo, kid got shot 40 times in front of his front door. I brought people in from Fresno, San Francisco, Oakland, all these different places to Vallejo, right? If I'm dealing with something here, I'll bring people from Atlanta, all over the country, right? To bring the resources here. So you're doing right. When I heard you say you bring in people to Sacramento, they're not expecting that, because see, the politicians already know here in Fresno, from the city council, from the mayor office, to the city council, to the Fresno County Board of Supervisors to Fresno County Office of Education. They already know, it's kind of like when you go to the dentist and they shoot that stuff in your gum. They've known all of the so-called black organizations and leadership.
Oh yeah, I went to so many organizations before going to Sacramento, and they all were like, we don't want to touch it.
See?
Why? Because they're looking for contracts. They recognize that this is money, you know, that kind of thing. I just thank God that I am in the position where I am, because if I were working at a full-time job that was associated with the city or something, I understand why parents are scared to say anything and why they just walked away. Luckily for me, my business model allows me location freedom.
See?
Right? And because I don't need to sue you and I don't want no money, I'm going to agitate you. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that suing them is off the table, but that's just saying, like, they have been forced, like, pressuring me to put them in contact with my attorney, because the first thing attorneys do is tell you to be quiet. Let's get this settlement.
I love my people.
Right?
I love my
I don't need your settlement.
I love my people.
And I want to address that really quick, too, because I have a lot of people that keep asking me, well, why don't you just sue them? When you deal with businesses, they create budgets for legal issues.
Yes, they do.
Right? So if you have a school, and I know this because I've looked at their budget that has $1 million budget for legal services, me suing you for $25,000, $250,000, $300,000, that's not hurting you.
That's malpractice.
That's not hurting you at all. They want you to do that, so you take your money and go sit down somewhere. I don't need their money.
You ain't worth that.
I don't need your money, and you can't get me fired from nowhere. Right now, what you can do is take away business opportunities that I've had set up here in Fresno, but I'm not going to really worry about that because it was small change. You know what I'm saying? So, but they would love for you to do that. You don't do nothing suing these people. You don't, because they have a budget for it already, and as long as you don't exceed that budget, they're not tripping. So yeah, they're frustrated. They're agitated, right? I'm dealing with Robert Golden's attorneys, all of who are white. He couldn't find no black attorneys, right? So I'm dealing with his attorneys going back and forth with them. And I'm like, these people don't understand that in my line of business, I speak with attorneys all day, every day. A lot of times they be dead ass wrong. Excuse me.
Well,
a lot of times attorneys, just because they are an attorney, they be dead wrong a lot of the times. And that's what happens when you get into the courts and you have these disputes, and then the judge or the jury decide. Right? But just because somebody, sends me an attorney, I'm not scared of that.
Well,
I talk to attorneys on a regular basis. They regular people, just like us.
They speak legalese just like plumbers use, tools to be a plumber.
Right.
So they use a language of legalese. But as somebody who, went to law school briefly, I'm telling you, they scare you. They are scared of being questioned. They are scared of somebody who is speaking truth to power. And everybody knows, historically, black women have spines of steel, especially when it comes to their kids. So they in big trouble.
So how can parents that want to get involved can reach you or contact you?
So I'm very active on Facebook. My daughter says that's where the old people hang out.
Hey, wait a minute, this is up on Facebook all the time.
But I am very active on Facebook. I do respond to direct messages. I also block because I've gotten a lot of stupid things. And also we have a website as well, which is FresnoCPC.org. And there's a contact form where you can reach out to us that way as well. But we'll be more active in the community, holding meetings and that type of thing. I've had a couple of organizations that have reached out to me and have offered their facilities to host these parent meetings after the Fresno Boys and Girls Club were called about our drama, and they canceled that meeting. And so I've had a few different organizations that are like, hey, we have space if you want to hold a parent meeting here. So we'll probably start to do that. I want to have at least monthly meetings while we organize. And then the Black School Board Parallel is going to do some training with us to kind of give us guidelines so that we have the structure that we need. And we're going to follow their blueprint. you know, and they've been able to successfully help their black and brown students in their district. And so we're going to use their blueprint and see if we can kind of do the same thing here in Fresno.
Absolutely.
There you have it, y'all. You have it right there. You heard it right. Cut and clear tonight. And get in contact with our sister here. She's doing some great work.
Absolutely.
And understand that our children have a right to question things. Never teach your children to be silent. Of course, we teach our children to be respectful, but yet they have a right to question things as well. So that's one thing I took away from tonight about that. And I'm gonna go back and find out from the ACLU about those pamphlets that I created and pushed to put into the school district so that parents can know their rights in the school district and know. And I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna close. Teach your children when they go to public school, especially when they go into the principal office, call my mama and call my daddy. I'm not saying nothing until they get here.
That's right.
Because you'll find out, you'll save yourself a lot of headache. And I get this thing about tell the truth and all that. But today, telling the truth, let mom and daddy tell the truth.
Right.
You know, tell your children, call me. You got a problem? Call me. Don't say nothing like it. Call me. And because we have to protect our children
Yes, we do.
in the society right now, as Aline said earlier, they hate our children. They hated us in Georgia when our first, you know, your founding father, Brother George, and, you know, and all his little homies that so-called wrote your U.S. Constitution, not mine. And that, you know, they had an agenda, and it wasn't include black folk.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so they created all these systems. But Ali, what do you always tell us at the end of our show?
Every week, I say, stay black till we get back with you.
All right.
All right,
See
that's
y'all
it.
next week.
Appreciate y'all so much for coming.
No problem.